Hi, folks. It is Thursday, August the 20th, 2020. As you can see, Larry is not with us today, and I do have an update on him. I'm going to wait a few seconds or a minute to give folks a chance to join us so that I'm not just repeating and repeating and repeating. But while I am waiting for y'all to join, and I know there's a minute or two delay from what I say until you catch up and hear what I've said. So I'm going to take advantage of this time, and I'm going to read a little bit of scripture because I'm here by myself. And I'm reading it because I want you to think of these verses for yourself, as I'm doing for myself. I want you to think of them for President Trump. Lisa Haven is in the hospital. I just watched her show. Please go to her show today. Justice from Restricted Republic is subbing in for her today, for Lisa Haven. And Lisa's having surgery today. I don't know whether she's out of surgery. He was very, very frustrated. He was very emotional, and he was not allowed to be with her. She had to walk out of the emergency room in order to be able to speak to him. And I guess that was going AWOL, and all they could do was text. He could not go in and be with her, and he was very, very frustrated about that. But he's experiencing with so many families have experienced. I tell you, I felt so blessed when I was with my family when my dad died. He died at home, and there was no issue of separation. The only issue we had was whether the church would allow everybody we invited to come to the funeral. But we knew even with the 60 people, 70 people we wanted to invite, there were many who were not going to come. Our relatives from around the country could not or would not get on a plane to come, could not drive. It was too far to drive. My kids wanted to be with me and with my mom and be there for the service. They couldn't be there. And so COVID is creating issues for many of us. And I felt very, very blessed that we could go ahead and at least have a service. We could have a reception outside. We weren't separated from Dad. Dad did not die alone. He died with family around him. He died with his wife lying just a foot away from him. He was in a hospital bed. She was hugging the edge of the bed. Actually, she was on his side of the bed. Wow. Open heart surgery and 3.5 weeks, and you finally I'm so glad you're able to see her. That has to be very helpful for her healing, dude. Folks, remember to pray for his wife as well for complete healing. Pray for Lisa Haven. Don't know what it was. Don't know if it was just, something that's an emergency surgery. Makes me wonder if she's having appendicitis, but that's my speculation. I have no reason to just guess that. Okay. I have no idea what's going on with Lisa Haven, but I got a call from Larry. It's 2:00 here. He called me just after 10:30 and said that they were having to take him to the hospital. And then an hour ago, he called back, and he's got a problem that's serious enough to need some treatment. And so there was no way he could be on with us for a couple of days. So we just need to be in prayer for God to give him complete healing and bring him back. In praying to the Lord about this, it's interesting because starting a few months ago, before Larry, before I'd heard from him and before anything was really progressing enough to think that we might have him back, the Lord was telling me, thank him. God said, thank him for what he's doing for Larry, and not be so busy in prayer, just begging and begging and begging, that I needed to have faith in what Scripture said. I needed to have faith in what several of us have felt that God has told us regarding Larry. And I needed to cling to that and be grateful and thankful. Now, if you've ever read the book From Prison to Praise, I do have several copies that I bought. If anybody would like one, just text me and I'd be happy to send you a copy. My cell phone number's in the description box down below here. But Merlin Carruthers was an Army chaplain, and I think in Vietnam. And a lot of the soldiers were coming to him for counsel, dealing with issues. And Marlon Carruthers kept telling them to thank God for the circumstances they were frustrated about. And he just tells story after story in the book about the things that God did in response to gratitude. In contrast, I was just listening to something Perry Stone did a program on paranormal manifestation, and Perry Stone says demonic powers feed on iniquity, in other words, habitual sin. I have often said that the demonic powers are empowered by our anger, by our fear, by our anxiety, and by our negative emotions. And so gratitude is so very important. It's a basis for contentment. And godliness with contentment is great gain. And so the importance of being grateful and thanking God in everything, which is 1 Thessalonians 5:18, in everything give thanks. It's hard to do. Believe me, I've had experiences where it's really been hard to do. And I have had to make a conscious decision to be obedient to God and say thank you because God commands it. And I chose to be obedient. Now it doesn't say have a grateful heart. It says in everything give thanks. And so you are speaking into existence what God has told you to do. And we know, yes, Larry does have a task to complete, and quintuple bypass. That's rough, dude. Plus dialysis. Anyhow, I'm going to read a little bit out of Isaiah 40 and 41. I'm going to start with Isaiah 40, verse 29. Think of this, as I said, for yourself, as a promise for yourself. Think of this as a promise for Dude's wife, for Lisa Haven. But especially think of these verses as a promise that we can cling to for President Trump and for Larry. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Those who hope in or wait on the Lord will renew their strength. Now, the fact that we have to wait on the Lord, there's a lot of scripture all throughout the Bible that talks about waiting on the Lord, waiting on the Lord, waiting on the Lord. It's hard to wait, and we Americans and the Europeans have a real hard time waiting. Now, if you grow up in a tropical climate, mañana, no problem, man. Like the culture where I grew up, it's a little easier to wait because you just always have to wait. But we're used to things snapping our fingers and things happening, and so waiting on the Lord. But I like this here in the NIV where it says those who hope in the Lord. So part of our waiting is being filled with hope. We're going to they will renew their strength. They'll soar on wings like eagles. Now remember, eagles don't spend a lot of time flapping their wings. They're soaring. They're catching the wind and soaring. That you're going to run and not grow weary like a bionic man. They'll walk and not be faint. So we cling to this as a promise for our president to have strength and for Larry's strength to be renewed so he can be back. He wanted so badly to be here, and he said he was so apologetic. He was so apologetic. And bless his heart. Okie doke. Now, Isaiah 41. I'm going to start at verse 9. It says, "You are my servant." And think of this as well for Trump and Larry, for yourself, for Lee. I think I just Sorry, I accidentally bumped the mute button because I had my Bible sitting on top of my keyboard. So sorry about that. So think again about these verses in Isaiah 41, starting at verse 9. Think of them for Trump, Larry, and yourself. "You are my servant. I have chosen you and have not rejected you. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. All who rage against you will surely be ashamed and disgraced. Those who oppose you will be as nothing and perish. Those who wage war against you will be as nothing at all, for I am the Lord your God, who takes hold of your right hand and says to you, do not fear, I will help you. Do not be afraid, for I myself will help you. You will rejoice in the Lord. I, the Lord, will answer. I will not forsake you." So, Gloria, thank you. Staying positive in the troubled times is quite a challenge. And we know the power of prayer, and there's power in numbers. Together we stand, divided we will fall. And, that is one of my great concerns for our country, because we have become so split. There's so much division here. We do not have the kind of strength that we should have if we were in unity. One of the things I appreciated that Justice, is it Justice? I think his name is Justice, was saying for Lisa Haven. He was talking about the cities that are in financial crisis. St. Louis, Chicago, Detroit, Kansas City all have a rating of D. Memphis has a rating of C. He mentioned a list of the worst run cities in America. The top cities for crime are all Democrat cities. That was a report from the Daily Signal. Cities that are going bankrupt are filled with crime, and we know Baltimore's in that as well. My question was with what he was talking about, when I think of Seattle and Portland and Minneapolis and so on, and the things that are starting to happen in these cities, who are they expecting to pay the bill for all these repairs? We know that Minneapolis begged Trump, hey, help us put the city back together. Well, why should taxpayers bail them out when they wouldn't, it's not fair that even the Minneapolis citizens, Milwaukee's in trouble right now too. It's too bad these mayors and governors can't be taken to task and fined to help pay these bills themselves, for crying out loud, not to mention having these troublemakers arrested and, all right, my opinion, jailed until they pay the bill. But here's my concern that Larry has talked about many, many times. If we have 5 cities erupting in riots, the FEMA provisional government, martial law, comes in automatically. Trump has no control over that. The fact that, we're not seeing complete lockdown, I think they're preparing for it. I saw that I didn't get to watch it. I think it was yesterday or the day before. Lisa Haven has a show up that she did before she went in the hospital. Something about 70% of our military is now stateside. Anyhow, I was just watching the Arkansas governor talking about, his daily update. And they were saying that school's supposed to start next Monday in Arkansas, and 20 to 50% of parents have opted to have their children do the online school rather than going into the classroom. Of course, that means 50 to 70%, 50, 80% will be in the class. So they'll have smaller classes which makes, that helps. But my goodness, the things that they're trying to do. I was thinking about Bannon's arrest, saying that there was donation fraud involved in the millions that he was trying to raise for the building of the border wall. Trey Gowdy called it a classic fraud scheme, that what Bannon did was a classic example for fraud. I've had people question me for fundraising for Larry. And I just want to state right here that if you do something with PayPal and you put $20 in and PayPal takes a fee out, and your $20 wasn't 20 plus the fee, I make up the difference. I have not taken one penny for what I paid for printing Larry's book twice. I have not taken one penny for the royalties that I was entitled to. I have not taken one penny. If anybody has sent money to Larry, and if his need was a little more than what I was able to gather, I made up the difference. I have done this on a constant basis. And if anybody has sent any money to Larry, I have never taken one penny to help with anything. And there are times when he's asked me to go and get something for him out of funds that he had. I have rarely accepted letting him pay me back for any of that. So please understand that I am not going to ever, if you ever hear me being accused of doing anything like that, be sure it's a lie, folks. I heard that on the internet. Oh, wait a minute. Back to Bannon. Trump said that he thought Bannon was showboating, and he didn't like his border wall project that he was doing. He didn't like the wall, that the piece of the wall that Bannon got built on private property, I think. He just didn't think it was as good as what he was doing. I understand the International Space Station has an oxygen leak in the United States segment of the space station. So please be praying for the safety of the astronauts that are there. I was a little shocked when I heard that there have been 10,849 lightning strikes in California in the last few days. And there are 367 different wildfires going on. And most of them are north of San Francisco in the Napa Valley area. And then there was supposedly a helicopter crash that started a fire near Traverse Air Force Base. So be praying for the families of the people who are on board that helicopter. With the rolling blackouts in this heat, it's got to be really hard on California. And I understand there is a huge fire going on right now in Colorado as well. Gloria, Trump being blamed for all of this, that whoever's coming after Bannon and all of the guys arrested with him, has got to be look, I'm not going to accuse who's doing it, but, surely they're going to find a way to blame Trump. Somebody asked the other day about using blockchain for voting. And I wasn't sure who it was. I don't know how to vet this information, but somebody posted on Facebook last night or this morning that blockchain will be used with some kind of voter ID for the vote in November. I don't know if that was hopeful thinking or if this person really did know. Oh boy, that makes it especially sad, Gloria. Thank you. That the helicopter pilot was trying to help with the fire. Yeah, Pam suggests they have to offset the Klein-Smith guilty plea. Apparently his, because he pled guilty, he's only pled guilty to one count of lying. And his punishment's going to be next week. Let's see. And what was the name of the guy? I should know this. The judge who's in charge of his case, the name starts with an M, and it was on the tip. I was so familiar with the name because of where I used to live that I didn't write it down because I was so sure I'd remember it. And now it's completely split away from my head. But there was this family that was involved in so much fraudulent stuff going on in Montgomery County, Maryland, and with the same last name. And it sure left me wondering if this judge in DC is at all related to this corrupt family. I did hear that it was a Obama picked judge. So, our cries for justice. But, one of the things I was arguing yesterday, I was telling you about this argument I was having, with this person. And I finally had to just give up and say, look, I can't deal with ignorance. I'm going to bed. One of the things I was trying to explain, why hasn't Trump done anything yet? Well, first of all, it's up to the DOJ, not Trump. But let's see whether it was the Attorney General, but I think it was Barr, who did some research into, before they were going to indict Comey, for example. They were doing some research into what would happen if they had a trial in DC. What was the chance that they would be able to place a jury that wasn't going to be completely biased in Comey's favor, that they could actually have an unbiased jury because it was such a Democratic location? And they did a survey. They did, they went out, and I don't know how they did this research, but they did some polling. They did some research and said there was no way that they could have justice for him there. So, it's the judge is one thing, a liberal judge versus a conservative judge. But even a recent conservative judge picked a federal judge that the Senate approved from Trump's nominees has, and look at Kavanaugh and Gorsuch and some of the things that they're ruling on. Just because Trump picks somebody doesn't mean that 100% of the time they're going to do things that we're going to appreciate. I don't know if any of you guys saw the recent interview with Anderson Cooper and the guy who owns My Pillow, this very generous man. Boy, I'll tell you, what they're doing against him for his support for Trump is horrendous. He voluntarily had his company make, was it 100,000 or was it 1 million masks that they made, and were donated. And the things that he has done, the millions of dollars he's given away to help with various things to support good in our country. And Anderson Cooper would not let the man speak. He kept trying to give glory to God. He kept talking about how it was more important to be obedient to God and to do things that would please the Lord. And Anderson, every time the man tried to open his mouth, Anderson was there muttering and mumbling and talking over, so you couldn't even hear what either one of them was saying. It was horrendous. We're looking internationally at wondering if Iran and UAE are doing some tit for tat retaliation because of the agreement signed with Israel. Sudan, it was leaked out that Sudan was considering signing on to this agreement. And then, of course, that guy got fired and was told that no, the public was told, no, we're not. I've heard that Biden, there are people that will not be prosecuted, and there are reasons for it. There is a certain amount of immunity for a president from prosecution. Now, you know that if they have a chance to go after Trump, it doesn't matter what the rules say, they'll throw them out for him. Did Klein-Smith plead guilty so Barr would not get discovery? That's possible. But remember, Larry said pleading guilty is an admission that lies did take place, and the FISA court hole stuff was a fiasco and a falsehood. So that's been admitted. That was all I had for today in the news I had heard. Now, Mike from around the world is a scientist, an incredible scientist, very brilliant man. He does interviews exclusively only with Paul Begley on Thursday nights at 10 Eastern. So I would suggest, because he's talking about the things that are coming, things that are happening in the earth with in the heavens rather, with the asteroids, with the magnetic field around the earth and so on. Dude, I hope your sister is going to wake up in time. And I'm sorry about the buffering. No, that's on your end. Anyhow, Mike from around the world, Paul Begley is Begley, is on YouTube, and at 10 Eastern tonight. I'd suggest you tune in, because I think some of the scientific information he shares, sometimes it's over my head. And I know if it's over my head, it's over a lot of people's heads. So anyhow, I'd highly recommend you listen to it if you're still up at 10 Eastern tonight. I usually make sure I take a nap so that I can wake up and be awake to hear them and stay awake and not fall asleep midway. Otherwise, I have to watch it the next day. Mike Hu on True Pundit said a lot about Barr. Well, Larry's had plenty to say about Barr. But Larry is doing his best to give Barr the benefit of the doubt, knowing Barr's past, knowing Larry's past. Larry said, look, if I can change, I have to give him the benefit of the doubt since Trump put him in. We know there are a lot of people who are working close to Trump that he really needs to get rid of, but this is not the time to do that. And I had to laugh at that disgruntled young man who went on. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Pam. I had to laugh at that young man. Sour grapes about Trump and the chaos and fiasco going on supposedly in the White House, in his opinion. I thought, man, you are young. You are a spoiled brat. You do not understand who Trump is and how he works. I mean, look at what he did on the, his show where he was so quick to fire people. President Trump pushes himself so very, very, very hard. Now, he has an extremely high IQ. He is a brilliant man, and so he can run circles around everybody, but he expects people to run alongside him and keep up with him. So he's very quick to fire somebody who can't keep up. So, for some kid to be acting disgruntled on YouTube, talking about the chaos around the president, kid, you're just moving too slow, was my opinion. So anyhow, that's enough for today. Larry was supposed to have been on with Pastor Sanders a week ago, and he realized it the next morning, and he went, "Oh no!" So, if I find out that Larry will be on with Pastor Sanders, I will let you guys know. I didn't know he was supposed to have been on. So if he had gone on, I probably wouldn't have heard about it. So if there's any way that I can find out about it in time to let people know, if I find out, I will certainly make sure, Terry, you're one of the ones that gets told about it. So please keep Larry in prayer, because his condition is serious. Doctors had told him that if he got COVID or if he got a cold, chances are it could be fatal for him. Look, There are a lot of the apocryphal books, Pam, that are mentioned in the Bible. The book of Jude. Jude was actually a brother of Jesus, and he talks about some of the book of Enoch is referred to multiple times in the Bible, and I think Jasper as well. Jasher, not Jasper, Jasher. Anyhow, there are several of these books that are not in our canon that are referenced by some of the people who are in the Bible. So I would say yes, that preaching, Pam, is okay. That's it. God bless you guys. Be safe, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Chances are Larry won't be back till next Monday, but be praying for him that he makes it. And thank God for all that God has done for Larry and is intending to do to keep him in the fight. He is certainly under attack constantly, Satan and his minions trying to take him out. So God bless you all. Stay safe. Bye.